you think? 4. This one is after the 6 and after the decimal, so there are 4. Okay? So if I have 3 here and 4 there, what's my least number? 3. So how many do I want my answer?
3.
So which are my 3 that I'm keeping? So I'm going to round to decimal 604. If you want to, you can have a leading 0 there because it's not significant. No, because we're multiplying there, we're using significant digits and not decimal places. Okay, does that make sense? That's the hard part about this, because you have to decide if you're adding and subtracting or are you multiplying and dividing. Okay, you only use the decimal places if you're adding and subtracting. If you're multiplying and dividing, you use the significant digits. Of the 2 rules, if they confuse you, which one's most important? The significant digit rule with the multiplying and dividing. Okay, the one with the decimal places, we will use hardly any this semester. Okay, now this one, scientific notation works the same way. These times 10s, they have no impact. Okay, so calculate your answer. 1.2 second EE 6 times 6.35 second EE -8, and I get 7.62 times 10 to the -2nd. Now, I use the same rule. How many significant digits are here? How many significant digits are here? What's the least number? 2. So I only want 2 significant digits in my answer. You have homework. Show me, Alex. All right. So I'm going to round to 7.6 times 10 to the -2nd. See how we did that? All right. We do the same thing in the next one. 3.56 second EE 12 divided by 2.136 second EE 5, and we get 1.66 repeating. So I'm just going to write several of them. Times 10 to the, what did it say, 7th. Thank you, sir. Okay. Now, from there, again, we're dividing, so we're using significant digits. How many significant digits are there? And how many are here? So what's the least number? So we're going to round that to 3. I don't care if you just say 1.66 times 10 to the 7th, or you can say 1.67 times 10 to the 7th. You can do it either way. You choose. Okay? Questions? We'll look at your homework. All right. So if we look at homework, and you got to be able to do this to do the lab today. And I'm going to hand back your quiz and your lab papers in a minute, because they're all graded. All right, question 1 should be 18.3. If you left it at 18.2, that's fine. Those are the only 2 acceptable answers, 18.3 or 18.2. Anything else, I would mark wrong. Number 3, 20.41 is the only acceptable answer. Number 5, 548.68 is the only acceptable answer. Number 7, 23.0 or 22.9. Those are the only 2 acceptable answers. Number 9, 375.5 or 375.4. Questions about any of those 5? Anybody? No? So everybody who did their homework got all 5 of those right, with no mistakes. Number 3 was 20.41. Yes, ma'am.
So if one of the numbers has like only one decimal,
If one of the numbers has only one decimal, are we talking about before or after? After, okay.
So our answer would be the lowest amount of decimal.
Yes. Yes. Anybody else? Okay. I can't answer if y'all don't ask. Number 11, 15. If you left it at 14, I would take that also, but those are the only two correct answers. Number 13, 1.2. Number 15, 0.3, or I would have taken 0.2. Number 17, 150. Number 7, that was 17. Number 19, 110. Or 1.1 times 10 to the second. Yes, ma'am. 13 is 1.2. Mm-hmm. Do which one?
19.
Well, at least I got a question this time. Thank you, my dear. You got homework to show me? We have a flyer for pictures for you. All right. So in number 19, it doesn't matter the order that you do it. You're going to get the same answer. So you get an answer of 108.6105. All right. And I'm assuming that that didn't bother you in that you had how many significant digits here? How many here? How many here? And how many here? So you knew the answer had to be 2, right? So how many is this? So you got down to 108, right? So once you get to 108, you're at 3 significant digits. How are we going to get it to 2 significant digits is the question. Round up. That's why I went to 110.
Do you have to put that 0 afterwards?
If you don't put the 0, let's say you have $108. Okay? If you don't put the 0, you have how many dollars?
11.
Would you be happy if you had $110 and we rounded you down to $11?
No.
No, you'd probably be pretty mad. Okay? So you have to keep the numbers in the same decimal place or the same place numerically that they were in. Okay? So this was in the hundreds place, so it has to stay in the hundreds place.
So if it was millions, you'd have to add zeros after?
Yes, you would. Remember, those zeros don't count because there's no decimal after it. It's an understood decimal, so that zero is not significant. Now, another way you can do it is you can put it in scientific notation if that helps, but most people just add zeros.
What were the answers to 15 and 17?
15 was, wrong worksheet. 15 was either, the answer came out to 0.2715. So there's your one significant digit. It should be rounded to 0.3, but I would have taken 0.2. I'd take either answer.
What was 17?
17 was 150.8, 36 something. So you want that, and you only want 2 significant digits there. So I would round to 150 because that significant digit there is not significant. So you only have 2 significant digits when you round to 150. Questions? Anybody else want to ask anything? All right, do we need more practice? Yes. Now, my plan is to use the even numbers for practice. I think, with the exception of Caroline, who got a little gung-ho last night, the vast majority of you left the even numbers alone, which is why a lot of times I only assign certain numbers. Okay, so if you will, take your calculators and let's do the even numbers. We're going to take about 5 to 8 minutes, maybe 10 tops, and then we're going to go over it. Now, you can either double check, or if you want, you can check your answers and see if they're right.
Well, I didn't do all.
Okay, we'll do the ones you didn't do.
I didn't.
I know, sometimes one gets confused and we just get too gung-ho. All right, let me fix Jada, marker here. Yes, but what's wrong with the calculator? It says low batteries. All right, let's get you new batteries. All right, can you change those for me since you got 2 hands? You have to do it. Just take off number. Just throw those in the trash. You're gonna pad 2 out.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yours might be the only contrast on this one. Yeah, yours is the auto contrast.
Will there be a scientific edition on any of like our tests and stuff with this?
Yes. There will not be on the lab today, no. Keep these handy because we're gonna talk about mistakes you made, so you can fix them today. Because I don't want you making the same mistakes today. Yeah. Yeah. That's what? 15. All right. You had time to try some on your assignment? All right, so let's look at some answers you came up with. All right, so number 2, 44.1. Number 4, 362.9 or 362.8. Number 6, 2.7. Number 8, 294.079. And number 10, 87.2. Yes, ma'am. Which one? 8. 294.079. Number 2, 44.1. Anybody have a question on any of those 5?
How'd you get
8. Did you get 294.07947?
I got a 0.79.
Punch it in again and see if you get a different number first, and then if you don't, then
Yeah.
is it a calculator error?
Yeah, minor.
Okay. Because you probably had, did you have 3 numbers after the decimal?
I had 0.70947. That's just for actually 0.
Okay. Anybody else? Question on any of those 5? Yes, Janasia? Ask. I don't shoot people for asking questions. They actually give me a paycheck every month for answering questions. I know it's hard to imagine.
I wanted to ask you, but it might be fine.
Then punch it in the calculator and then ask the question. Go ahead. Which number are we looking at? All right, punch number 10 in the calculator, and then let's see. Try to be easy with them, Lolly. They're old. They're like me, very breakable. Yesterday at the doctor, I had to answer how many times I'd fallen this summer. I thought it was a trick question. I didn't like my answer either. They didn't either. It was you. Okay. So did you get one place behind the decimal, though, when you answered it the first time?
Honest.
So you put 7 numbers behind the decimal?
No, I had numbers.
Oh, okay. But you only had 1 number behind the decimal when you rounded. Okay. So you did it right. You just had the wrong answer because you calculated it wrong. Okay. All right. So number 12. 6 points. Huh?
Sorry, what was 10?
87.2. All right, so number 12, 6.7. Number 14, 2.7. Number 16, 32,000. Number 18, 0.58. And number 20 is really the only one that could have multiple answers. You could have rounded to 0.270. Or you could have left it at 0.269. Questions about any of those? 16 would be 32,000. Because you only want 2 significant digits there. You need to round off. So you have, for anybody who didn't get that one, you had 32,347.2. And you only want these 2, right? So 32, but you need it to stay in the 32,000 range. So just make those zeros because they're not significant. All right, anybody else? Anything? Yes, ma'am.
We got 7.2 for 14. I got something about that time.
Did you use parentheses when you did the math in the calculator? That's why. Your calculator did the order of operations wrong. Punch it back in and put the parentheses in, Almaja, and see if you get the 2.68-ish kind of answer. Oh, that one could have been 2.6. I'd have taken 2.6 also instead of 2.7. and see if you get the number like I got. Okay, so when you rounded, did you only have two numbers in your answer? So you said you had a 5 something, so you had 5.1 number. So you had the correct significant digits. You just did the calculation wrong because you didn't use your parentheses. Okay. Anybody else? Question? Number 20? All right. So did you get like 0.269 when you were calculating? All right. All right. You got your calculator? Punch it in again and let's see. Because this one doesn't have to have parentheses. So odds are good you probably punched it in wrong. Now, chances are I won't give the quiz today. I'll do it on Tuesday when we come back. So when you're doing your quiz, there are 10 questions. What's the first thing I would tell you to do after you do the 10 questions? Check your answers. Go back over it. Because there's no partial credit on these. These are just calculate and round. So if you punched it in the calculator wrong, what do you know about your answer? It's just wrong. It doesn't matter if you rounded right. So on anything like that, go back and double check yourself. I always do when I'm doing a key just to make sure, because I make calculator mistakes. You got point what? Okay, so now how many significant digits can you have? You got how many here? And how many here? You're counting decimal places. How many in that first number? Whole number. 6. How many here? How many here? How many here? So you only want 3 in your answer. Yeah, you were trying to use the decimal places. All right. Anybody else? Question? No? Okay. Leave your lab papers for a second. All right. So when I looked at those yesterday, because you're getting ready to do a lab using the significant digits, so you're going to calculate. Okay? You have to use the correct significant digits. So you had a data table. You had mass. You had 3 of them, right? How many places was I looking for behind your mass? Because first of all, none of y'all have the same mass except you and your partner. And some of y'all, you and your partner don't have the same numbers written down, which is fine. I don't care if you and your partner have the same number written down. You can have a different guess. It's A-okay with me. So how many places behind the decimal should you have when you use that triple beam backwards?
2.
2. Because it reads to the 10th place. It has to have a guess in the 100th place. So when I looked at your mass, let's just say that your beaker weighed 112.6 grams. Your guess had to be here. So I was looking to make sure there were 2 numbers behind the decimal. If you didn't have 2 numbers behind the decimal, you lost 6 points. Secondly, you had to have grams written there. Some of y'all did not put a unit behind your data. So any place I wrote -1, you either didn't have a unit or you had the wrong unit. All right, so 6 points came from having 2 numbers in grams. That was for all the masses. Now here, I know I'm OCD. I checked all 21 papers to make sure you did this right. When I wanted the mass of the water, and you had the mass of the beaker, and the mass of the beaker, and the water, how'd you get just the mass of the water? You subtracted. I checked every single paper to make sure you subtracted correctly. If your math was wrong, I took off 6 points. I have a calculator provided for you. There's no shame in using a calculator. If you calculated wrong, I took off. Now, if I can't read your numbers, I'm sincerely sorry. I need to be able to read them so that I can punch them in correctly to make sure that you subtracted right. So make sure your numbers are legible, okay? As far as I could tell, everybody's handwriting was pretty good. Some of you were only off of 0.01. I don't know what the reason for that was, but when I put in those 2 numbers in my calculator, I should be able to get the same number you have written on that mass line. Some of you, I could not get the number you had written on that mass line. I have no idea why, okay? But I should get that number. So I got no explanation. It's just -6. Now, for volume, how many numbers should have been behind your decimal? Only 1. So when I saw something like 44.21, that was a -6. It had to be just that, and that would have been a milliliter. For temperature, temperature should have had how many? Only one. Most of y'all were in the like 20 point something range. 0.2 degrees Celsius. Now, those two we're not using today. You don't have to worry about those. They're not popping up today. Mass will be used today, and then length and width will be used today. So, these two are important for us today. You're measuring, a couple of y'all did inches. Are we using metrics or English units? So I want centimeters, right? So centimeters reads in tenths. So if it reads in tenths, how many places behind the decimal should y'all have? 2. It's just like these. So most of y'all were like 27.65 centimeters and 21.47 centimeters. You got to have 2 places behind the decimal. So when you go out there to use the equipment here in a couple minutes, how many places do you need behind the decimal on your triple beam balance? 2. How many places do you need behind the decimal on your ruler? 2. How many was that again? 2. So when you're writing down your measurements, if you don't have 2, what am I going to do on the lab sheet? I'm going to take not that many today, okay, because there were very few measurements. Today, there are more measurements, but I'm going to take off 2 points every time you don't have the right significant digits, okay? This time there are like 8 or 10 measurements today. I don't want to take off 20 points because you have the wrong significant digits before you do any of the calculations, okay? So, everybody okay with how to measure the significant digits? All right, now let's talk about what you got to do. Somebody come be my able-bodied assistant. Now that I have the cast off, we know what my hand will do. It's blessedly little. I'm going to be in physical therapy the rest of my life. Is it sure that? All right. Able-bodied assistant. Come here tonight. All right, y'all are going to find the density of 2 blocks of wood. I got a little block and a big block back here. Okay? Little block, big blocks. Scales are still sitting on the counter. So I'm going to stick the rulers back here by the block so it's easier to pick up a ruler. Because all y'all need are rulers and wood and scales. And with Angel here, we have 20 people, so that makes it nice and easy to be able to have groups of 2. It's okay. You're faster than I am. I promise. Faster than me. All right. So, on the sheet, at the top, where it says data. This is an abbreviated lab. You're not writing a lab report. We're just filling out the sheet. So, at the top where it says data, you are not putting any calculations in the top where it says data table. Okay? You're just putting your numbers or measured data with units on them. Okay? The second table where it says calculations, that's where you're showing me the work. Everybody see that?
Wait, what?
Wait, what? Zone back in over there. All right, the top table is where you're putting the numbers with the units, the measurements, the information you take at the counter. Now, where it says calculations, that's where you're actually going to show me the calculations and show me how you get it. So you're going to write something like V equals length times width times height. You're going to show me, I'm making up these numbers, I don't know what they are, 15.21 centimeters times 8.25 centimeters times 4.21 centimeters. And you're going to get an answer, and then you go round to the correct significant digits. Now, if all you do is write volume equals with a number, do I know how you got it? I need to see the work. Okay? So, 15.21 times 8.25 times 4.21 is 528.281. And then, how many significant digits are there?
4,
4 here
3,
and there.
3,
So how many should be here?
3.
So 528 centimeters cubed. Now for density, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to show me density equals, I'm making up a mass. I have no idea what the mass will be. Let's just say 25 grams divided by my volume of 528 centimeters cubed. Density equals, let's say 50.25 divided 528. I get 0.0951. So no. Okay, so how many significant digits are here
4,
and here?
3,
So I would have what here?
0.051.
9, 7.
You can leave it at 1, you can round it to 2, doesn't matter to me. Grams over centimeters cubed, because neither one cancels out. So when I look at your lab sheet this weekend when I'm driving, I won't be doing it while I'm driving, somebody else will be driving the car. All right? Will I have any doubts as to how you calculate it? No, I can see your numbers in your data table. I can see how you calculated it. I can see your numbers in your data table. I can see how you calculate it. Okay? That goes in the second box, not in the top box. No calculations in the top box. Everybody got it? Okay. Can you manage to find groups of 2, or do I need to assign? Fourth period made me mad yesterday. They don't get to pick their groups anymore. I pick from now on. Can you all do groups? Okay, go. Annette, you did? Rough night? All right, does everybody have a partner? Happy Friday!
Or, yeah, 7. You know, yeah. But you also write it down here.
So now we just
Yeah, you just have to make sure you put your number down.
Oh, make sure it's
I feel bad because I'm late. Yeah, but you have It is, but I like before I'm.
Oh, you scared me.
Yeah.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you do. Just make sure you- Yeah, it's like, okay. Oh, okay, she gets it 30 points. 20, 55.
Yeah.
Could you pull them? That would be.
It's not gonna be exactly the same.
I guess mine is-
It's not
It's really
do your math. Have the right amount. Better include that.
And then pick 3 numbers, so I guess 53 and then 2. So 0 to 3.
got a 30.
Okay, and you know the volume centers game. I guess that's all.
We probably.
Where we go.
Hi, Jeremy. Can you just tell me?
I know, because it's always 30 centimeters. 30 centimeters. Get this minute.
I don't think it's.
Let me just make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's gonna be.
Millimeters of the itty crap. Infinity lines.
Yeah, we had the wrong ruler.
No, you didn't.
This one had millimeters.
Both of them have millimeters. What's wrong?
She said something smart.
What's wrong?
Oh, no, we should get another ruler that has millimeters, the one that we have.
Yeah, I have millimeters. The itty bitty lines are millimeters. Oh, if you read like one, and the point or little lines are millimeters, but if you read like 1 point something, it's 1 point something centimeters. That's all. So like here,
Yeah.
this would be like, all right, that line is the edge. So that's the 0 line. So that would be like 1 point, okay? So that's 7 point whatever centimeters. Okay? And then 7 point whatever, and then get what you guess at the end. Does that make sense? Let me find a paper towel to draw.
Well,
Anybody else have a question?
Yeah.
Yes, no? That's a no on questions?
not in my internet yet.
Oh, wait, this one already looks very young.
No, it's just too much.
It's division, so it's so we have 4 and 1 right now. So 5.
I know. 5 0.
Okay, I feel better.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah, it's 1 point. So volume is 1 digit.
Yeah.
And then the symbol is 2, the round is 2.
What's the second?
Yeah. Yep. Come on, you said show the volume calculation here. Can you show me a volume calculation here? Yes, yeah, this calculation needs to go down here. Okay, so this, now you've got that. What's that? Okay.
Wait, what's
Yes, but that's where it should be. All right, so you've got, and then you've got that, and then over here. Over here. Yep, we've only got 2. What do you
This is nice.
You're here. And here, and here, and then over there. And then you've got
Which part? I guess like if we put a schedule right on the board. For the large one, we got 15 on like some that says right on the board, but we don't erase on one thing.
It's just how
Wait, if you had to find the mask.
And your volume should have 4 numbers. The max. And the volume should
So it's 3, it's like 4, He said 14.9. We're just crippled together.
the little slash.
Because it combines
The volume. Yeah.
Yeah, just in case you get the live, your mark. So you don't work. Go to the
For one. Yeah, let's do 9-1. 9-2 is almost equal. So 9-1, we can do it like. Alright. That's all about right, they like, but.
Alex, or not Alex.
One the other night, I'm saying, how are you?
For real? I know they don't all like that. I like the girl gave me my stuff. You little gimme.
So that will affect that, because it's gonna affect your answer.
It's another bird.
Yeah, I just see, pretty much is the first four.
It's 56, but, or, you know,
The game's old. They're happy about it.
they were the same words.
You see, the whole,
They were different because. Yeah,
Wait, are you talking like
Okay, that's what happened.
No, last week is it. Okay. Yes. Here, you want to check that No, this is theirs though. The light.
I'm not really gonna change it.
Right. 28.31 and all the branches.
I'll do that.
So what?
Right there.
Please.
Right there. Make sure that. You're probably gonna need to fix that seat too.
That's for
I mean, the distance of 0.532.
So they're like, what, 42?
We can redo that now. We're not gonna try to do.
Yeah.
I love these pictures.
Everybody's replacing us.
Y'all are. I can remember.
I remember wait, our login is our number 50.
These are pictures. Yes, we have
I'm not short notes. What did I tell you? I don't
I never thought of that way.
And I still was like, right.
Oh, I do too.
We graduated 67.
Oh, I'm grateful. You're no longer my friend. You're no longer my He's no longer my
Y'all finished? We're getting close. Bring me papers.
Yes, we are. Are you going to be out? I don't claim it. Just stop.
Remember, put your wood blocks and your ruler on the back table. Scales, you can leave where they are. I'll put those up myself.
It'll grow back. But okay.
We did our math right. Yeah.
Unless they're lucky, they already got one.
But yeah.
Actually correct. Now, then she got one of those complete so really? So you just get this class.
We did this together.
My mom was, I've been asking her, she was like, no, but when I told her, you have a pink.
Whose papers have been still waiting on other than Caroline's? I can see her writing. All right, if you will, put your calculators up to 90 notes. Yeah, I'm just gonna have
And then I gotta say, to have to take it out. I regret it. It's gonna be like, I only regret it because like my strength is running, so it's like here, but
Over there on my desk, you'll see the stack. Thank you, Louis. Yeah. You need dividers? You can put it any place you want to. They're your notes. If you are the kind of person who wants dividers, put dividers in. If you don't like dividers, don't use dividers. I mean, I will never collect notes. That is strictly how you want to organize yourself. Okay? So if you want to separate sections, knock yourself out. I'm never gonna look at you. Alright, so I will take a look at these this weekend. Providing all goes well. You know, I'll have these for you on Monday. No promises. Tuesday. Now, we're going to talk about heat and temperature for the last 7 minutes of class. Provided they ring the bell at the right time. So, we're going to talk about physical properties next week. Density is actually one of the physical properties we're going to look at. And temperature and heat have physical properties we're going to look at also. Now, temperature and heat are a lot like accuracy and precision. We use those words interchangeably in the English language. But in science class, heat and temperature are not the same words. They don't mean the same thing. We don't measure them the same way. They don't have the same units. They're not calculated the same way. So, what are the differences? Temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles in a sample of matter. Okay? It's a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles in a sample of matter. Now, most of you probably remember what kinetic energy's main concept is for middle school, even if you don't remember a lot about energy. What's the main concept in kinetic energy? Moving. Okay, it has to be moving. Okay? So, kinetic energy is all about motion. So, right now, our body temperature is not very high simply because we're sitting still. It's all 98.6 anyways. But we're going to talk about something else called heat on Monday because we're not going to get far enough to talk about heat, which most of us confuse with temperature because at the moment we've all been sitting still in class. Okay? Some of us have on hoodies because you think it's cold in here. I'm fluffy myself. I don't ever think it's cold in here. Now, if we sit still, over time, we start to feel how? Cool. If we go to practice, Dante played football last night. He was very active on the field. After a while, he felt how? He felt hot, okay? That all has to do with heat. Doesn't have a lot to do with temperature. Now, the key to temperature, though, is temperature is about the average kinetic energy of the particles. Now, to contrast that on Monday, we're going to keep that in mind. Now, how do we measure temperature? We measure temperature with a what? With a thermometer. Now, for those of you who can't spell it, it's thermo, and then it's meter. It's a thermometer. Now, the units that we use for temperature are Fahrenheit, and you're going to have to learn how to change all of these. Fahrenheit, Celsius, and Kelvin, which we talked about on day one. Kelvin is your SI unit. A lot of you had forgotten that on the quiz, but Kelvin is the SI unit. Now, one of these has a formula that's on the blue sheet, and it's written there. And the other one, because it's an extra in the honors class, a lot of what we've done this week is just extras in the honors class. I'm going to let you write on the blue sheet. I want you to be able to do it, but I'm not going to make you memorize the formula. So, if you will, pull out your blue sheet, because I'm going to let you write it on the sheet. Now, you're not going to be asked to do this on the exam, which is why I'm letting you write it on the sheet. Okay, it's one of the few times I'll let you write on the sheet. So turn to page 3, where your formulas are, and add it to your formula page. Okay? Now, one of them is already there. You don't need to write this one because it's already there. Everybody see that one? We're going to learn to use this one on Monday. It's already there for you. All right? Now, the one you want to add is C equals 5/9 F minus 32. Now, your homework for this weekend, after you've written that down, is to be prepared for our quiz when? On Tuesday. Okay? Remember, when you take it, double check yourself. It's going to walk correctly. Make sure you round correctly. If it's significant digits, that's decimal places. You can't mix up the rules. Okay? I'm missing, looks like about 6 calculators. So if you have one, please put it in my sub. Have a nice 3-day break. Yep. Correct. Now grab your 2 calculators. Somebody nice enough to put back here on the desk. Y'all have a good weekend. All right. Almost perfect.
Jermaine York, please come by the main office. Jermaine York, please come to the main office, please.
Thank you. Should I ask how the game went? Did you have a good game?
Yeah, I did.
You did pretty good. That's good.
You're good. I ain't got to you good.
Okay.
Oh my God, Marilyn!